So this is a run through question 2, part C. So in the question, we're asked to do two things. We are asked to firstly draw a diagram from the information that we've been given. And secondly, we've been asked a part on what is consumer surplus and how we can apply it to the question. So starting off with part 1, what information do we know? Well, we've been told in the question that Macklemore announced a concert and the capacity is 80,000 people and the ticket price is €65. So from those two bits of information, we know three things. First of all, we know the equilibrium price is €65. We know the equilibrium quantity is 80,000. And we also know that the supply of the tickets are fixed. So because in the question we're told it's 80,000 tickets is our quantity supplied, it's not varying on price. That is our fixed quantity. And because our quantity is fixed, that means our supply curve is going to be vertical. So when we draw it out, it should look something like this. So again, we have our price on our y-axis. We have our demand, or our quantity on our x-axis. Demand is going to be downward sloping, left to right. And our supply is going to be vertical. So we can, once we put in our €65 and our 80,000, it's quite easy to draw in our supply and our demand curves. So again, supply vertical, straight up from where our 80,000 is. And then where that crosses our demand curve is our equilibrium. And we know from our question, our equilibrium price and quantity. So once we know where this should be cutting. And if we do our dots to the side, it should be right at 65. The second part of that question then, excuse my lovely artwork, is about consumer surplus. So starting off with, what is consumer surplus? So consumer surplus is the difference between what a consumer actually pays for a product and what they would have paid for the product. So if we go to a very little simple example here, if you buy an apple for €2, but you were willing to pay €3, well, your consumer surplus is €1 because you were willing to pay more than what you actually paid. So how do we put this and apply it to the question? So in the question, it was asking us about the concert promoter. So rather than charging €65 all round for every ticket, what the concert promoter could potentially do to extract as much money from consumers as possible is probably what most concerts actually do. So when you have somebody on stage, so this is Macklemore here, you could say block A, block B, and block C. So the seats closest to the stage will be most expensive. Block B, they're back a little bit, but they're still more expensive than C. So here we have €100 per ticket in block A, €85 in block B, and €65 in block C. So this is just an example of what could potentially be done. So what would that mean for consumer surplus then? Well, if somebody bought a ticket in block A, they would be paying an extra €35. So they would actually lose their consumer surplus of €35. In block B, they would be paying €85 instead of 65. So they would also be giving up a consumer surplus, but of €25. And in block C, they're paying what they're willing to pay. So there is no consumer surplus. There's no loss or gain of a consumer surplus. So again, this is just one example. And then what does that mean for the sales promoter? Well, it means that there's an increase in sales revenue. And why is that? Because consumers are being charged what they're willing to pay, not a flat rate price for everybody. So it means that you're getting more money from consumers